welcome back to my channel. This is Prepping by Faith. Today we're going to talk about, is it evil or mental illness? I feel like this is something I've started hearing being discussed a lot lately concerning why we are seeing an acceleration in gun violence. So I wanted to take a few minutes to break this down and share with you my perspective because I think it's a little different than what we're hearing. When we hear of a mass shooting or we think of the mind of a serial killer like Jeffrey Dahmer or Charles Manson, many of us automatically equate them with some form of mental illness. Now, while I do believe there are genuinely some people that are affected by mental illness, I don't believe this is the case for the majority of these violent crimes that we witness. Now, hear me out. I think what we are dealing with is a matter of the heart and not a matter of the head. When you remove God and the biblical principles that our nation was founded upon, you start to see a moral degradation of society. Even those who aren't religious cannot ignore the moral fiber that runs deeply through Christianity and informs us of what is right and what is wrong. There are many biblical principles that we can all agree upon. You shall not murder, you shall not steal, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, etc. And it's not even just in America. We are witnessing this taking place globally. When you remove God from society, you see a lack in morals. You see a confused population that now doesn't understand what gender it is, that it's wrong to kill innocent lives in the womb, that looks at sexuality in a way that anything goes, and it shouldn't be a surprise that they even begin to blur the line when it comes to committing violent crimes. What we need to understand is that there has always been good and evil. I want to ask you a question. Do you think the devil is mentally ill? Or do you think that the Bible is correct in labeling him the great deceiver, the ultimate liar, the ruler of this world, the prince of the power of the air? If we start to gain that level of understanding, then we know that the devil has the ability to influence his children just as God does his. Do you think that Cain slew Abel because he was mentally ill? Or do you think he was just influenced by evil? I think it has become all too easy in our society to label everyone who doesn't act rationally and who does the most evil things as mentally ill, when in fact what they are is just pure evil and full of the devil. They are influenced by darkness, and so they commit atrocities. Simple as that. We have been taught our whole lives that every person who has gone on a killing spree with a firearm or any other device was completely sick in the head. I think they were purely sick in the heart. If we can't understand something, we automatically assume it's because they are a head case. I look at a lot of these people who have committed these crimes, and you can usually see an element of rationality. Either they felt wronged in some way by the person they killed, they projected something onto that person because of a previous experience, or they just picked out a victim because they could. That shows a level of calculation, heightened intelligence, and many times a lot of effort and planning involved. That doesn't speak of mental illness to me. That seems like a free pass the society has decided to give these people. I don't remember reading any stories in the Bible about the mentally ill, but I do remember reading several about ones who were purely evil with a murderous spirit. My biggest problem with this narrative concerning gun violence being committed by the mentally ill is that this is being pushed by the left. If we join in on the bandwagon and decide that's what these people are, then we are playing into their desire for more red flag laws. We already have these in my state, and it is a concern of mine. The biggest problem with red flag laws is who decides you're mentally unfit to possess a weapon. Oftentimes, all it takes is one report from an individual who has a problem with you, whether it's a neighbor, a coworker, an ex-friend, take your pick. Will there come a time when they decide you're mentally unfit because you don't think like they do, because you vote a certain way, you won't get the jab, you aren't on board with censorship, you don't agree with open borders, pick one. We cannot allow them to use the same propaganda they've always pushed and embrace it without realizing we're doing so. We need to pay attention to these subtle messages and call them out for what they are, divisive tactics to confuse us and leave us with no legal grounds to defend ourselves. It's my belief that they have no intentions of backing off their stance for gun control, and while I do believe we need to do something, a top-down approach will never fix it. Until we start addressing the matter of the heart and true evil, then you will never see this begin to change. Criminals will always find a workaround. That's why they're called criminals. They don't obey laws. Laws only work for law-abiding citizens. We don't have harsh enough punishments in our country. If we would begin to make true examples out of these people, you would automatically see crime begin to decline. If we would introduce God and moral principles back into our homes, into the schools, into legislation, you would see an improvement as well. We need to think small scale, not large scale, to improve these issues. We have to start with ourselves, our children, local and state governments, before we can ever address the federal issues. This is my opinion. We definitely have a matter of the heart rather than a matter of the head to deal with this in our country and others before we will ever see a real change. If you have enjoyed this video today, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. And remember to pray, prep, and put God first. God bless.